Bridges aren't just structures, they're stories written in steel, stone, and sweat. And when it comes to railway bridges, some defy gravity, while others blend seamlessly into nature. From a bridge that vanishes into a mountain to one built without a single piece of steel, these engineering marvels are more than just pathways, they're works of art. So, buckle up as we take a thrilling ride across 8 of the most breathtaking railway bridges ever built. Trust me, by the end, you'll never look at a bridge the same way again. The Forth Bridge, Scotland. Ever wondered what it takes to build something that stands the test of time? Literally, the Forth Bridge in Scotland isn't just a railway bridge, it's an engineering marvel that has defied the elements for over 130 years. Built in 1890, this gigantic red steel structure stretches over the Firth of Forth, looking like something straight out of a steampunk dream. With its 53,000 tons of steel and 6.5 million rivets, this was the first major bridge in the world to be constructed entirely of steel, before the Eiffel Tower even became a thing. But what makes it truly legendary? Well, this bridge was designed to be practically indestructible after previous bridges in the area had collapsed due to harsh weather. Its unique cantilever design spreads out the weight, allowing it to withstand high winds, storms, and even earthquakes. And here's a mind-blowing fact. It's so strong that it has never needed to be rebuilt. Trains still rumble across it daily, carrying passengers high above the shimmering Scottish waters. In 2015, UNESCO declared it a World Heritage Site, calling it a symbol of human genius. And honestly, standing beneath it, looking up at that maze of red steel, you can't help but agree. If bridges had Hall of Fame status, the Forth Bridge would be a first ballot inductee. The Gulch Viaduct, Germany. Now imagine a bridge made of bricks. Not just a few thousand, but a jaw-dropping 26 million bricks stacked together in perfect harmony. That's the Gulch Viaduct, a masterpiece of railway engineering in Germany that holds the title of the largest brick-built bridge in the world. Built between 1846 and 1851, this architectural wonder spans an entire 574 meters across a lush valley, standing 78 meters tall. That's nearly as high as a 25-story building. But here's the kicker. This bridge was built when modern machinery barely existed. Imagine thousands of workers, no cranes, no heavy-duty equipment, just their hands and pure determination. The result? A multi-arched masterpiece that looks like something from a medieval kingdom. And unlike many bridges that need constant repairs, the Gulch Viaduct has stood strong for nearly 175 years, carrying trains between Leipzig and Hof without breaking a sweat. What makes it truly special is the incredible symmetry of its arches. There are 81 arches in total, and they're arranged in 4 stunning layers, getting smaller as they rise, giving it a mesmerizing, almost optical illusion effect. Standing beneath it, you feel like you've stepped into a different era, a time when craftsmanship meant perfection down to the last brick. It's not just a bridge, it's a testament to what human hands can achieve. The Landwasser Viaduct, Switzerland. Picture this, a train effortlessly gliding across a stunning 65-meter-tall viaduct, curving gracefully into a tunnel carved straight into a mountain. Sounds like something out of a fantasy movie, right? Well, welcome to the Landwasser Viaduct, Switzerland's most jaw-dropping railway bridge. Built in 1902, this masterpiece is part of the Rhaetian Railway, a UNESCO World Heritage route that takes passengers on a breathtaking journey through the Swiss Alps. But let's talk about the real magic. How in the world was this thing built? Back in the early 1900s, there were no cranes, no helicopters, no advanced machinery. Yet workers somehow managed to construct this 6-arched limestone bridge, towering over the Landwasser River, all while battling the unforgiving alpine terrain. And here's the crazy part, there were no scaffolds. The bridge was built using only wooden platforms, which means every stone had to be perfectly placed, or it was a long way down. Fast forward to today, and the Landwasser Viaduct is still one of the most photographed railway bridges in the world. Why? Because where else can you see a train appear from a sheer rock face, cross an elegant stone bridge, and then disappear into another mountain like a magic trick? If there's one railway bridge that feels straight out of a fairy tale, it's this one. And if you ever take a trip on the Glacier Express, make sure to have your camera ready. You'll want to capture this view forever. The Kinzua Bridge, USA. Not all engineering marvels have a happy ending. The Kinzua Bridge in Pennsylvania was once known as the 8th wonder of the world, a 92-meter high trestle bridge stretching across the vast Kinzua Valley. Built in 1882, this beast was the tallest railway bridge in the world at the time. It was designed to carry heavy freight trains across the valley, cutting travel time drastically. But fate had other plans. For over a century, the Kinzua Bridge stood strong, withstanding the test of time. But in 2003, disaster struck. A powerful tornado, with winds over 160 kilometers per hour, ripped through the valley, snapping 11 of its massive steel towers like matchsticks. In less than 30 seconds, what was once an engineering masterpiece collapsed into twisted metal ruins. But here's the fascinating part. Rather than demolishing what remained, Pennsylvania turned the wreckage into a tourist attraction. Today it's called the Kinzua Skywalk, and visitors can walk out onto the surviving portion of the bridge, standing on a glass-floored viewing platform, peering down at the wreckage below. It's an eerie, yet incredible experience, a bridge that tells the story of both human ambition and the unstoppable power of nature. The Kinzua Bridge may have fallen, but its legacy still stands tall. The Shibanshi Railway Bridge, China. Tucked away in the misty mountains of Sichuan, China, there exists a railway bridge so enchanting that it feels like something straight out of an ancient painting. Welcome to the Shibanshi Railway Bridge, a hidden gem that connects the past to the present. Unlike the massive steel giants of the modern world, this bridge is part of the Shibanshi Steam Railway, one of the last remaining narrow-gauge steam train routes still in operation. Now, here's the fascinating part. This bridge wasn't built for high-speed trains or heavy cargo. Instead, it was crafted in the 1950s, mainly to serve small villages, allowing farmers and workers to travel through the mountains. But over time it became something much more, a time capsule of China's railway history. The most magical moment? When the steam train crosses the bridge. The entire valley fills with thick white smoke, creating an almost dreamlike scene. Imagine standing there, watching an old-fashioned locomotive slowly chugging across a stone viaduct, surrounded by lush green forests and mist rolling over the hills. It's the kind of place where time seems to pause, where modernity hasn't erased the charm of the past. In a world obsessed with speed, the Shibanshi Railway Bridge is a reminder that sometimes, the slowest journeys are the most unforgettable. The Viaduc de Garabie, France. Would you believe me if I told you that one of the most stunning railway bridges in the world was designed by the same genius behind the Eiffel Tower? Meet the Viaduc de Garabie, an elegant red iron bridge soaring 122 meters above the Truyère River in France. Designed by none other than Gustave Eiffel, this bridge was built in 1884, proving that Eiffel's talent wasn't limited to just one famous tower. Back in the late 19th century, railway companies had a problem. How do you build a bridge tall enough to cross deep valleys without making it too heavy? Eiffel had the answer, an iron arch design that was both lightweight and incredibly strong. The result? A masterpiece that looks delicate yet holds enough strength to support trains for over a century and counting. But let's talk about aesthetics. Unlike many industrial bridges, the Garabit Viaduct looks almost artistic, its red-painted steel standing out beautifully against the rolling green hills of southern France. When trains cross it today, they glide over one of the most spectacular railway routes in Europe, giving passengers an unforgettable panoramic view. Gustave Eiffel may be known for the tower in Paris, but if you ever visit the Viaduc de Garabie, you'll realize this bridge is just as much a work of art. The Nine Arches Bridge, Sri Lanka. Imagine a bridge so breathtaking that it looks like it was built for a fantasy movie. Nestled deep within the lush jungles of Sri Lanka, the Nine Arches Bridge is an architectural wonder that seems almost too perfect to be real. What makes it even more fascinating? It was built entirely without steel. That's right, no metal, no reinforcements, just stone, brick, and cement holding this masterpiece together. Constructed during the British colonial era in 1921, legend has it that when World War I broke out, the steel that was meant for this bridge was redirected to war efforts. So, the local builders had no choice but to get creative. Using only traditional methods, they crafted a 91-meter-long viaduct, standing 24 meters tall, gracefully curving through the hills of Ella. But the real magic? Watching a train slowly make its way across. Picture this, a blue train crawling over the bridge as mist rises from the jungle, birds chirp in the distance, and golden sunlight filters through the dense greenery. No wonder this spot has become one of the most Instagrammed railway bridges in the world. The Nine Arches. Bridge isn't just a railway bridge, it's a testament to human craftsmanship, resilience, and the power of traditional architecture. If there's one bridge that makes you believe in the beauty of old-world engineering, this is it. The Trestle Bridge at Capilano, Canada. Now, if you're afraid of heights, you might want to brace yourself for this one. Deep in the heart of British Columbia's wild landscapes, the Trestle Bridge at Capilano is one of the most heart-racing railway bridges ever built. Why? Because it's perched high above the forest floor, towering over a deep ravine where even a glance down is enough to make your stomach drop. Built during the early 1900s, this wooden trestle bridge was originally constructed for transporting timber and resources through Canada's rugged terrain. Back then, railway engineers had to build bridges fast, using whatever materials they could find, so they turned to wood, one of Canada's most abundant resources. What they created was nothing short of a wooden labyrinth in the sky, a towering trestle that could support the massive weight of trains thundering across it. The real thrill? Walking across the remnants of this bridge today. Some parts have been preserved as a historical site, and standing on it you can feel the slight sway beneath your feet. The surrounding forest seems endless, and below, a rushing river carves its way through the canyon. It's a place that makes you appreciate both the courage of early railway builders and the sheer beauty of nature. The Trestle Bridge at Capilano isn't just a railway bridge, it's a daring journey through the past, suspended high above the wilderness. Would you be brave enough to cross it? Railway bridges aren't just about getting from point A to point B. They're masterpieces of design, history, and human ingenuity. From towering steel giants to hidden stone wonders, each bridge tells a story of bold engineering and breathtaking beauty. Which one amazed you the most? Let me know in the comments. And if you love discovering incredible architecture, subscribe to DwellScape for more awe-inspiring designs from around the world. Until next time, keep exploring the wonders of architecture. Have you ever wondered what it takes to build an entire city from scratch? No history, no old buildings, just a blank slate and a bold vision. Sounds insane, right? But around the world, governments and visionaries have done just that, creating futuristic capitals, economic hubs, and even smart cities from the ground up. But why? What makes a country decide to build a whole new city instead of expanding an existing one? And do these cities actually succeed, or do they become ghost towns of failed dreams? Let's find out. Brasilia, Brazil. Imagine a city that wasn't supposed to exist, but was created purely out of ambition. That's Brasilia. Before 1960, Rio de Janeiro was Brazil's capital, but the government wanted a fresh start in the country's center. Instead of expanding an existing city, they did something wild. Designed an entirely new one from scratch. Picture this, a vast empty landscape in the heart of Brazil. No skyscrapers, no streets, just a vision of the future. That vision came from Lucio Costa and Oscar Niemeyer, two brilliant minds who transformed a blank canvas into a masterpiece. From above, Brasilia looks like an airplane, a symbol of progress and movement. The cockpit is where the government buildings are, while the wings stretch into residential zones. But here's where it gets even crazier. It was built in just 41 months. Imagine constructing an entire capital city in that time. And not just any city, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Every building, every street, every park was carefully planned to fit a futuristic modernist dream. Yet Brasilia has its quirks. Unlike most cities, it wasn't designed for walking. Residents rely heavily on cars. And despite its beauty, some say it feels too structured, lacking the organic charm of old cities. But one thing is undeniable. Brasilia is proof that with a grand vision and bold execution, a city can rise from absolutely nothing. Canberra, Australia. What happens when two major cities hate losing to each other? You build a brand new capital to settle the score. That's exactly how Canberra, Australia's capital, was born. Back in the early 1900s, Sydney and Melbourne were at war, not with weapons, but with pride. Each wanted to be the capital of Australia. The government, instead of picking a side, said forget it, we'll build a whole new city instead. And just like that, Canberra was born in 1913. But here's where things get interesting. It was designed to blend perfectly with nature. Unlike many concrete-heavy capitals, Canberra is full of green spaces, lakes, and rolling hills. It was created by an American architect, Walter Burley Griffin, who imagined a city that felt more like a park than a metropolis. Even today, it's sometimes called the bush capital because of how much nature surrounds it. However, for years, Canberra felt like an empty capital. It took decades for the city to gain energy. People used to joke that it was just politicians and kangaroos. But today, it's one of the most well-planned, livable cities in the world, proving that even a city built out of pure rivalry can become something truly special. Naypyidaw, Myanmar. What if I told you there's a capital city 4 times the size of London, but almost no one lives there? Sounds like something out of a dystopian movie, right? Well, welcome to Naypyidaw, Myanmar's ghost capital. In 2005, Myanmar's government shocked the world by suddenly moving the capital from Yangon to an entirely new city. No public announcements, no warning, just a surprise shift to a place in the middle of nowhere. The reason? No one really knows. Some say it was for security reasons, others believe it was part of a government master plan. But here's the crazy part. Naypyidaw was built to be futuristic. It has massive highways with 20 lanes, but barely any cars. There are huge hotels, government buildings, golf courses, and even a replica of Yangon's famous Shwedagon Pagoda. Everything was designed to accommodate millions of people, yet the population is shockingly low. It feels like a city waiting for people to arrive. But they never did. Visitors describe it as an eerie, almost surreal place, where streets are empty, malls are deserted, and hotels sit half vacant. It's a city that looks ready for the future, yet feels like it was abandoned before it even started. Will it ever become the bustling capital it was meant to be, or will it remain one of the strangest urban experiments in history? King Abdullah Economic City, Saudi Arabia. Imagine a city that didn't exist 20 years ago, but was built to rival the biggest metropolises on Earth. That's King Abdullah Economic City, Saudi Arabia's $100 billion dream, rising straight from the desert. In 2005, Saudi Arabia made a bold decision to build an ultra-modern city from scratch on the coast of the Red Sea. Why? Because the country wanted to reduce its dependence on oil and create a futuristic business hub. KAC isn't just a city, it's an economic powerhouse, expected to house 2 million people and drive billions in trade. And get this. KAC is home to one of the biggest ports in the world. It's designed to handle global shipping at an unprecedented scale. But that's not all. The city is packed with luxury resorts, cutting-edge technology, and a high-speed train connecting it to Mecca and Medina. But here's the question. Will KAC succeed? Building a city is one thing, but attracting people to move there is another. As of now, the city is still growing, with some areas fully developed while others feel a bit too empty. If everything goes according to plan, KAC could become one of the most important cities of the 21st century. If not, it might join the list of the world's most ambitious but unfulfilled dreams. Lavasa, India. Imagine a city where every building looks like it belongs in a European postcard, where colorful houses line peaceful streets, and where life was designed to feel like a permanent vacation. Sounds perfect, right? That's exactly what Lavasa was supposed to be, India's first fully planned private city, inspired by the charm of Italian towns. Back in the early 2000s, Lavasa was introduced as a dream destination, a self-sustaining, high-tech city nestled in the scenic Western Ghats near Pune. It had everything: luxury villas, tech parks, resorts, waterfront promenades, and even a golf course. The goal? To create India's own version of a European getaway where people could live, work, and relax all in one place. Investors poured in and excitement soared, but then, disaster struck. Lavasa faced a storm of legal issues, environmental violations, and financial troubles. Construction slowed, investors pulled out, and suddenly, the dream city started falling apart before it was even completed. Today, parts of Lavasa remain eerily empty, with unfinished buildings and deserted streets. What was meant to be a bustling paradise is now a cautionary tale about what happens when grand plans don't meet reality. But here's the twist. Lavasa isn't completely abandoned. Some residents still live there, and efforts to revive it are ongoing. The big question is, will Lavasa ever rise again, or will it forever remain a ghost town of what could have been? Songdo, South Korea. What if your city could talk to you? What if your trash bins emptied themselves, your traffic lights adjusted to real-time congestion, and everything around you ran on artificial intelligence? Welcome to Songdo, South Korea, a city that was built not just from scratch, but for the future. Songdo is often called the world's first smart city, and for good reason. It's located on reclaimed land near Seoul, meaning that this entire city didn't even exist before the 2000s. But instead of just building another metropolis, South Korea decided to redefine what a city should be. Here's what makes Songdo mind-blowing. It's entirely digital. Every home is connected to a central network, allowing residents to control everything, from their appliances to security, through smart systems. Traffic is managed by AI-powered sensors, and waste is automatically sucked underground through an advanced pneumatic system. No need for garbage trucks. And let's talk about sustainability. 40% of the city is dedicated to green spaces, making it one of the most eco-friendly urban developments in the world. Biking and walking are encouraged, and Songdo aims to be carbon neutral in the coming years. But there's a catch. Is it too perfect? Some residents feel that Songdo is almost too controlled, with its structured design making it feel a little robotic. While it's a city of the future, it still needs to grow into a place that feels more alive. But one thing's for sure, Songdo is a glimpse into what cities might look like everywhere in the next few decades. Nusantara, Indonesia. What if your capital city was sinking, and the only solution was to build a brand new one from scratch? Sounds like a sci-fi movie, right? But that's exactly what's happening in Indonesia. Meet Nusantara, the future capital designed to save an entire nation from disaster. For decades, Jakarta has been slowly sinking into the sea, literally. Built on swampy land and overpopulated with 10 million people, the city faces some of the worst traffic and pollution on Earth, but the biggest threat, floods. Rising sea levels and uncontrolled groundwater extraction are swallowing parts of Jakarta at an alarming rate. If nothing is done, large areas could be underwater by 2050. So, in 2019, the Indonesian government announced something bold. Let's move the capital. But instead of just picking another city, they decided to build one from scratch. Enter Nusantara, a futuristic eco-city being constructed on the island of Borneo, 1,300 kilometers away from Jakarta. But here's what makes Nusantara truly groundbreaking. It's designed to be a forest city. Unlike traditional capitals filled with concrete, Nusantara is being built with 75% green space, powered by 100% renewable energy, and designed with smart infrastructure that minimizes pollution. Imagine a city where public transport is electric, skyscrapers blend into nature, and sustainability isn't just a feature, it's the foundation. Of course, the project isn't without challenges. Moving an entire capital is no small feat, and there are concerns about costs, logistics, and environmental impact. But if it succeeds, Nusantara could become the world's most sustainable capital, proving that cities of the future don't have to destroy the planet to thrive. The big question now is, can Nusantara pull it off, or will it become another expensive dream that never reaches its full potential? And there you have it, 7 cities that rose from nothing but ambition and a blueprint. Some are thriving, while others struggle to find their place in history. But one thing's clear, the future of urban living is being built right now. Which of these cities fascinated you the most? Do you think building cities from scratch is the answer to modern challenges? Let me know in the comments. And if you love exploring architecture and urban wonders, subscribe to DwellScape for more. Have you ever seen a massive skyscraper or a grand building, completely abandoned, standing lifeless like a ghost of the past? Why were they built? What went wrong? And why do these enormous structures still stand empty today? From a hotel that was never opened to a skyscraper turned into a slum, today we're diving into 8 of the world's largest abandoned buildings, and the unbelievable stories behind them. Would you dare step inside these forgotten giants? Let's find out. Ryugyong Hotel, Pyongyang, North Korea. Imagine a 105-story pyramid-shaped skyscraper towering over Pyongyang, a structure so massive it could have been a shining symbol of North Korea's prosperity. Instead, it has earned the eerie nickname, the Hotel of Doom. Sounds like something out of a dystopian novel, right? But the reality is even stranger. Back in 1987, North Korea launched this ambitious project to outshine South Korea's rapid development. The goal? To build the world's tallest hotel, a shimmering beacon of progress. But just 5 years later, construction screeched to a halt. The Soviet Union collapsed, North Korea's economy crumbled, and suddenly, there was no money left to finish the extravagant dream. For decades, the Ryugyong Hotel stood abandoned, its hollow concrete skeleton casting an ominous shadow over Pyongyang. In 2008, construction briefly resumed, and an Egyptian telecom company even installed glass panels to make it look finished. But here's the twist, it's still completely empty. No guests, no staff, not even a functioning elevator. Just a lifeless, glass-covered husk looming over the city like a ghost of what could have been. Even today, the Ryugyong Hotel remains sealed off, a bizarre relic of political ambition, economic collapse, and a government that refuses to admit defeat. Would you dare to spend a night in the Hotel of Doom if it ever opened? Golden Finance 117, Tianjin, China. China is famous for building some of the tallest, most breathtaking skyscrapers on the planet. But what happens when a billion-dollar dream turns into a half-finished nightmare? Enter Golden Finance 117, a 117-story mega skyscraper in Tianjin, also known as the walking stick due to its slim, towering design. This behemoth was meant to rival the Burj Khalifa and redefine Tianjin's skyline. The plan was to create an ultra-luxurious financial hub with offices, hotels, and observation decks stretching nearly 2,000 feet into the sky. Construction started in 2008, but things quickly took a turn. First, the 2008 financial crisis hit, slowing down progress. Then, China's economy started shifting, and suddenly, demand for high-end office space wasn't what it used to be. In 2015, just as the final floors were about to be completed, everything stopped. No more workers, no more progress, just an unfinished shell of steel and glass standing awkwardly in the skyline, waiting for a future that may never come. Even today, Golden Finance 117 remains in limbo. Too expensive to demolish, too unfinished to use. A monument to overconfidence, bad timing, and the unpredictability of the global economy. Would you go to the top of a 2,000-foot tower if you knew it had been abandoned for years? Sathorn Unique Tower, Bangkok. What happens when an ultra-luxury skyscraper turns into an abandoned ghost tower? You get Sathorn Unique Tower, Bangkok's most infamous unfinished high-rise. Standing 49 stories tall, it was meant to be an elite condominium complex with breathtaking views of the Chao Phraya River. But today, it's nothing more than a decaying skeleton, covered in graffiti, mystery, and spine-chilling urban legends. The downfall of Sathorn Unique began with the 1997 Asian financial crisis. The developer ran out of money, and construction halted overnight. But instead of a glamorous landmark, the half-built structure became an urban explorer's paradise, and one of the eeriest places in Bangkok. Over the years, rumors started to spread. Some say dark spirits haunt the unfinished floors. Others claim it was built on an old burial ground, cursing the project from the start. Tourists and thrill-seekers often sneak in, braving the crumbling stairwells to get a glimpse of the city from its eerie heights. But with no safety measures in place, climbing the tower is dangerous and illegal, and more than a few daredevils have met tragic fates inside its abandoned walls. Despite occasional talks of renovation, the Sathorn Unique Tower remains frozen in time, a chilling monument to economic collapse and unfinished dreams. Would you climb Bangkok's ghost tower if you had the chance? Plaza Tower, New Orleans. In the heart of New Orleans, an abandoned giant looms over the city. The Plaza Tower, once a symbol of modern architecture, now stands empty, a toxic, crumbling relic of the past. But this isn't just another unfinished building. This one was abandoned because it was too dangerous to live in. Built in 1969, Plaza Tower was the third tallest building in Louisiana and was home to offices, apartments, and upscale businesses. But over time, something sinister was growing inside its walls: toxic mold and asbestos. Workers and residents started getting sick. The air inside became a breathing hazard and lawsuits began piling up. By 2002, the owners had no choice but to shut it down, locking its doors forever. For over 2 decades, Plaza Tower has stood as a ghostly shell, covered in broken windows and graffiti. Developers have tried to bring it back to life, but the cost of removing the deadly toxins is astronomical. Today, it's nothing more than an empty, decaying skyscraper, rotting in plain sight. Some say it should be demolished, others dream of a revival. But for now, it remains one of the most toxic, abandoned buildings in America. A cautionary tale of how even the grandest buildings can turn against their creators. Would you dare step inside this poisoned skyscraper? Burj Al Mur, Beirut. In the heart of Beirut stands a 34-story concrete monster, known as Burj Al Mur, a skyscraper that never got to be what it was meant to be. This tower was supposed to be a shimmering financial center, a hub of luxury and commerce. Instead, it became a brutal battlefield, riddled with bullet holes and haunted by the ghosts of war. Construction started in the 1970s and everything seemed on track for Beirut to get its next big landmark. But then, civil war erupted. The half-finished tower was never completed, never furnished, never even given a proper purpose. Instead, during the brutal Lebanese civil war, it became a military outpost and sniper nest, used by various factions to take down enemies from its towering height. Today, Burj Al Mir stands frozen in time, an eerie reminder of destruction and broken dreams. Its unfinished floors are empty, its exposed concrete is scarred with bullet marks, and its hollow shell looms over the city like a ghostly giant. Despite many proposals to renovate or demolish it, the tower remains untouched, a symbol of Lebanon's turbulent past. It's a place where no one lives, no one works, and no one dares to go. A skyscraper built for the future, only to become a relic of war. Would you step inside a tower that was never meant to be a battlefield but became one anyway? Torre de David, Caracas. Imagine a 45-story skyscraper with no elevators, no running water, and no legal owners. That's Torre de David, the infamous abandoned high-rise in Caracas, Venezuela, which became a makeshift home for thousands of squatters, a vertical slum in the sky. Construction of the tower began in the 1990s, intended to be a cutting-edge financial center. But when Venezuela's economy crashed, so did the project. The developers went bankrupt, and the half-finished tower was left to rot. But then, something unexpected happened. Homeless families moved in. By the early 2000s, over 3,000 people were living in Torre de David, transforming it into a self-sufficient, lawless city in the sky. The lower floors became markets, barbershops, and even a church. Residents used makeshift pulley systems to bring up water and supplies, and families built homes inside the unfinished offices. But life in Torre de David was anything but safe. Crime ran rampant, and with no elevators, residents had to climb up to 45 stories on foot. Eventually, in 2014, the government evicted everyone, leaving the skyscraper empty once again. Now it stands as a hollow, lifeless shell, too expensive to finish, too massive to tear down. Once a symbol of financial ambition, then a refuge for the desperate, Torre de David is now nothing but a ghost town in the sky. Could you imagine living in a skyscraper with no doors, no water, and no safety? Pruitt-Ego Housing Complex, St. Louis. Imagine a futuristic housing complex designed to be a symbol of hope and progress. That was the dream behind Pruitt-Ego, a 33-building high-rise housing project built in St. Louis in the 1950s. It was meant to provide modern, affordable housing for low-income families, a utopian vision of urban renewal. Instead, it became one of the biggest failures in architectural history. At first, everything seemed perfect. The sleek buildings had spacious apartments, elevators, and even green spaces. But within a decade, the dream collapsed. Poor management, rising crime, and lack of maintenance turned Pruitt-Ego into a nightmare. Elevators stopped working, garbage piled up, and residents felt trapped in an unsafe, crumbling environment. By the 1960s, the complex was overrun with gang violence, poverty, and neglect. Things got so bad that the US government decided to demolish it, not just part of it, but the entire complex. By the mid-1970s, the once promising housing project was completely erased from existence, a failed experiment in urban planning. Today, the land where it stood remains mostly empty, as if the city itself wants to forget what happened there. Pruitt-Ego wasn't just a housing failure, it was a lesson in what happens when vision and reality don't align. What started as a futuristic solution to housing needs ended in total destruction. Could history repeat itself with modern mega projects? Wonderland Amusement Park, Beijing. Imagine walking through a fairy tale castle, but instead of laughter and joy, all you hear is the whistling wind and the echo of your own footsteps. Welcome to Wonderland, an abandoned amusement park near Beijing, once planned to be China's version of Disneyland. In the 1990s, developers had an ambitious vision: build the largest amusement park in Asia, packed with roller coasters, magical castles, and family fun. But there was one problem: they never got the land rights. Local farmers refused to sell their land and financial problems started piling up. By 1998, construction was completely abandoned, leaving behind a half-built kingdom of decay. For over a decade, the unfinished medieval castle and skeletal roller coasters stood eerily in the middle of nowhere, attracting only photographers, urban explorers, and ghost hunters. Some locals believed the place was cursed, while others turned it into a makeshift farmland. Eventually, in 2013, the entire site was demolished, erasing Wonderland from history before it even had a chance to exist. It's one of the strangest failures in theme park history, a place meant to bring joy, but instead became a haunting reminder of overconfidence, greed, and bad planning. Imagine walking through an abandoned theme park. Would you find it exciting or terrifying? These buildings were meant to be symbols of success, but instead they became monuments of failure, mystery, and lost dreams. Some still stand, waiting for a second chance, while others are slowly crumbling into history. Which one fascinated you the most? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this journey through forgotten architecture, hit that like button, subscribe to DwellScape, and stay tuned for more fascinating stories from the world of design and construction. See you in the next one.